Ready.
All right, let's go.
And by that he means, let's go do something dangerous. The ultimate aerial obstacle course is kind of like Nitro Circus meets wingsuits. Lots of wingsuits. It took place in and out of the skies over Europe, the Americas, and the Middle East, and it featured dozens of athletes competing in 15 different events, all of which fall into the don't do this at home or really anywhere else category. Consider, if you will, the human catapults. Exactly what it sounds like, followed by flights of incredibly risky fancy that are incredible to watch. There's an event called the Para-Rings, which looks like a type of video game challenge, but here come the wingsuits. That's 30 points, baby. Then there's the hot air balloon target, where more wingsuits aim for the bullseye. And there's whatever this is, which is definitely aerial and definitely intense. But one event that involved both wingsuits and drones was called Drone Can. And the camera angles helped make it spectacular as stunt flyers flew through the unmanned aircraft with showers of sparks shooting from their legs. Put together, it put on a show unlike any other and perfectly modeled the extreme in extreme sports. Hi, I'm Carl Azuz. We're thankful to have you watching the world from A to Z. The U.S. military's biggest and most advanced aircraft carrier is on patrol in the Caribbean Sea. The USS Gerald R. Ford has joined more than 12 other warships on what the military calls Operation Southern Spear. It's a significant buildup. The government says it's focused on stopping the flow of illegal drugs into the United States. And it's in both the Caribbean and the Pacific that the U.S. has attacked more than 20 boats over the past few months, killing dozens of people the government describes as known drug traffickers or narco-terrorists. Critics in Congress say the Trump administration needs to give more proof of this, and a United Nations human rights official says the strikes may be illegal. The government calls them self-defense against drug cartels, and it's accused Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro of supporting armed drug smugglers. The U.S. has offered $50 million for Maduro's arrest. It's opposed his leadership of Venezuela for years. The South American president has denied supporting criminal gangs, accused the U.S. of, quote, bringing war to South America, and said U.S. intervention there would become another Vietnam or Gaza. Venezuela has launched its own military exercise in response, and the U.S. government said to be considering a number of options concerning the South American nation. Meanwhile, normalcy's returning to Washington, D.C. and beyond following the end of America's partial government shutdown, the longest one ever, officially ending last week. Its effects were uneven. Many federal workers were directly impacted, many in the private sector weren't. Dozens of airports saw cancellations and flight or security delays. At others, it was business as usual. Here's a look at how some places that were affected are resuming normal operations.
Many national museums are now back open after shutting their doors for more than 40 days during the government shutdown.
We've greeted over 1,000 people already.
The Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. began welcoming visitors Friday. The Smithsonian Institution includes 19 museums and the National Zoo in D.C. All were forced to shut their doors when the federal government shut down October 1st, leaving many tourists frustrated.
It was a little disheartening to kind of just see the city be a little bit more of a ghost town, but, you know.
Smithsonian officials posted on X that they will reopen on a rolling basis, with all facilities open by Monday.
We've been here for 5 days, and so we were expected to see all the museums, but like I said, we booked over 2 months ago, so before the shutdown happened.
While national museums and federal agencies open back up, not everything is returning to normal right away. Saturday, the FAA gave the green light for more air traffic, but airlines are still being told they'll have to cancel 3% of their flights at 40 major airports across the country. Flight restrictions were reduced to 6% during the shutdown because there were not enough air traffic controllers to operate safely. The decision impacted thousands of flights a day.
I am happy that it'll get back to some kind of normalcy or just a little bit better before the holidays.
For the roughly 42 million people who rely on the federally funded Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP to help them afford groceries, most will have to wait until Monday to receive their full benefits. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Word of knowledge. Which of these famous quotes was spoken on November 17, 1973? everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. Here's looking at you, kid. I am not a crook. Believe you can, and you're halfway there. It was on this date 52 years ago, during the Watergate scandal, that U.S. President Richard Nixon said, "I am not a crook."
On this date in world history, England embarked on its Elizabethan era on this date in 1558 when Elizabeth I ascended the throne at age 25. The popular monarch led her nation for more than 4 decades, helping establish England as a major world power. Dr. Livingstone, I presume. Yeah, I really like doing that. Those words were spoken about Dr. David Livingstone. He was a missionary and explorer from Scotland, and on November 17, 1855, it's recorded that Livingstone became the first European to see Africa's Victoria Falls in what is now Zambia and Zimbabwe. Finally, canal history was made on this date. In 1869, the Suez Canal opened in Egypt after 10 years of construction, and in 1913, this is when a ship sailed through the Panama Canal for the first time. It would officially open the following August.
Cassette tapes, and 21-year-old Hafsa Omer is meticulously cataloging them, as they hold recordings from her culture.
People do not see this, things important, but I see it important because it's holding a whole history of my country. It's holding a whole history of my people, because my people, they never write, they never read. All they do is they talk.
Omer lives in Somaliland, a disputed territory that for years has functioned independently within Somalia. But to this day, no country recognizes Somaliland as an independent nation. For centuries, various sultans ruled Somalia, until the late 1800s when it was colonized by European countries. Britain held Somaliland while Italy controlled Somalia. And under these two distinct rules, the culture of the two Somali territories diverged. Then in 1949, Italian Somalia was given to the United Nations Trust as part of a plan for its independence. British Somaliland gained independence 11 years later, and within 5 days joined with former Italian Somalia to create the Somali Republic. But just a few years later, the region divided yet again, during a military coup that appointed a socialist dictator. Siad Barre's regime was characterized by violence, dividing the region with policies that targeted powerful families in former British Somaliland. 10 years of war followed till that regime fell in 1991. Somalia plunged into a bloody civil war as various groups vied for power. But Somaliland? It declared its independence and withdrew from the conflict. Since then, it's tended to be more stable than Greater Somalia, with its own government, elections, and currency. Some agree that Somaliland has a strong case for independence, but say that recognizing its claim could increase tensions with Somalia. The lack of recognition makes international trade and growth difficult for Somaliland. But Omer and others like her have hope, believing that cultural records like these tapes will help demonstrate the differences between Somalia and Somaliland, and strengthen her nation's case for recognition.
We're looking for your comments on our YouTube channel and at the Request a Shoutout link on our website. First stop takes us to the sunflower state of Kansas, where it's great to see Mr. Lewis's class. Hello, Campus High School in Wichita. Meantime, the Panthers are on the prowl at Issaquah Middle School, and Miss Brooks's class is there in Issaquah, Washington. And from the nation of Canada, we welcome the students and teachers of Alexander Mackenzie Secondary School in Sarnia, Ontario. One of the few things in the world that is cheesier than my puns is this competition in the Swiss capital. It was held last week and included more than 5,000 different cheeses from 46 countries, made out of everything from buffalo to donkey milk. Cheeseheads were competing in the World Cheese Awards for the coveted title of World Cheese Champion, and the one that was crowned was an 18-month Swiss Gruyere that one judge described as perfect and unforgettable. Cheesemaking can be a cottage industry. First, you gotta become a master of the mozzarella emmentals. Then you have to Asiago overcome the curdles of making something even cheddar than Gouda. It must be fated to blew away the judges, a new parmesan of monstrous flavor that stands provolone, and Cole becomes a new national treasure. I'm Carl Azuz, slicing up puns on the world from A to Z, and you mean the world to me.